Marhaba Sadiqi. Hello, my friends. My name is Genevieve. I'm a paleoanthropologist and rock art researcher, and I study some of the oldest art in the world. Ismi Genevieve. أنا علمت الآثار وأنا أدرس النقوش القديم. So basically said the same thing in both languages. And I am not going to torture you guys with my bad Arabic throughout, but I at least wanted to show a little bit of my skills that I worked really hard on while I was out in the field for a couple months. Since this is the final 10th episode, which is a bit of a recap of my recent field series in the magnificent kingdom of Jordan. I was in Wadi Rum and Petra, and I had the amazing opportunity to be there for 2 months and hanging out with all my wonderful Bedouin friends and family. Some of those guys I've known for like 20 years. So it's really wonderful to see them and their families and their kids and just the whole experience. With each of those videos, because I shot them while I was in the field, sometimes I didn't quite get things right because it was like in the moment. So there was a couple things I wanted to correct. And then also with each of them, I felt like there was one or two things where maybe I wanted to give you some more information or questions had come up as I've been publishing the videos online. And which again, thank you so much for watching them. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Fieldwork is the best and it's so fun to share. So I brought notes so I can stay on track because otherwise we could wander off for like, hours talking about my favorite subject. And we can certainly do that in the future, but the goal here is to be fairly concise so it kind of fits with the shorter format, right? Okay, so episode 1. Oh, I should also point out, I'm back in Canada now in my backyard, so, not exactly the exotic ends of the earth, but it's, it's nice to be home, right? So that's always the other side of field work is I think it makes you appreciate your house when you get back to it. Okay, so episode 1, Thamodic. I totally mispronounced that when I was in the field. I think I said Thamodic with an L. No. This is what happens when archaeologists wander outside their own area of specialty. So my apologies to the Thamodic scholars around the world. To give you a little bit more information, Thamodic is basically related to Semitic, Northern Arabian. It's not even completely deciphered, but these inscriptions are found throughout the Arabian Peninsula. And so with the ones that we found, one of my local colleagues, her name is Lina Al-Rababa, and she has a professor friend in Amman, in the capital, and she was going to show the inscriptions to him. And so we might be able to find out what some of them meant, which is incredibly cool and not currently possible with the geometric signs and the art that I study during the Paleolithic. So it is neat to work in an area where it might be possible to actually understand what the people were trying to say. So that was what I wanted to say about episode 1, that little correction there. Okay, episode 2, Cave of Wonders. So this, of course, was the amazing tunnel passage mini cave thing that we, so it's still not very technical, don't have a better term for it yet, but that was out, down sort of quite far out into Wadi Rum, down near the Saudi border. And I realized afterwards, of course, I couldn't really give you the scope and beauty of what was in there and just the layers of art. So I will put up a couple of still shots that I took just to give you a better sense of what was actually there. And I also just wanted to say too, just from a context point of view, I showed you a little bit, but it was just wild where it was located, like just this one little pokey rock formation, huge flat desert floor all around it, and then it was like in the distance were all the big other formations. So very much a easy to spot landmark, I suspect, whether that was 2,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, 20,000, who knows. But it makes sense, but it was very much almost like, had that feel again like of somewhere where lots of different cultures over time left their mark there. So can't wait to go back and to have the chance to do a much greater, more in-depth study, because I think we could learn a lot about the history of that area just from that one formation. So it was such a privilege to see it. And as you can tell, I was pretty excited then, still excited now. Okay, episode 3. So this, of course, is the cave with the little functional engravings and where the water was collected. I just wanted to, again, just to point out that throughout that rather long field survey season, like there was almost no art in caves ever, like anywhere in that area, even though I did go into some other caves. It's so interesting to see the different patterns. Now, I did hear rumors of a cave further up in the mountains, which I didn't have the capacity to go to because my kids were with me and it would have been a little hard. But maybe in the future we can go up there, and apparently stone tools were found near the entrance. So lots of good promising stuff. But again, it just speaks to how little we've actually studied in that area, and therefore like how much still needs to be done. With that said, I mean, again, there is the other cave, but you can tell they're mini caves. It's not, they don't have like the big deep river carved out underground river tunnel caves that you see in Europe there. It's more like these wind carved very shallow caves, so that also could be impacting where the art is, as well as, again, why were they making it? If they're meant to be landscape markers, if they're meant to be almost like signs to communicate things to other people, then that would be very different than wanting deep caves to maybe make more private or ceremonial marks. So just pointing that out too, but really fascinating to kind of see the different pattern and then to start kind of locking into it as we worked at more and more sites. Okay, episodes 4 and 5, Little Petra. So cool to go there. I'm sorry I didn't take like a better shot of Little Petra itself. I will put one up here. Yeah, it was almost more like a spur of the moment thing. Because people, like I said, always are interested in what it's like to be in the field. So I was like, oh, I'll just shoot some stuff. But yes, I could see where I might have missed some wide shots or some things like that. So next time, because I think I'll do this again, it was way too much fun, I will try and include a few more of those wide shots, but I'll give you a good shot of the entrance here. Albeda, I corrected it in a later episode, but I actually got it too young when I said how old it was. In these episodes, Albeda is actually more like 10,500, possibly even like 11,000 years old. So I think it's really one of the oldest villages in the world, which is amazing. And probably a transition where they're partially hunting and gathering still, partially starting to do horticulture and agriculture. So I think we can learn a lot as well, because those kind of dates are still Paleolithic in Europe. Like, we're still talking full hunter-gatherer lifestyle. So very cool things I think can be learned about how art changes to reflect maybe the lifestyle and the culture, and how at this point we're still seeing those ibex, which somebody asked a question, they would have still been wild at that point, so this would be more like a hunting animal. And so again, maybe they carried cultural or religious significance, which is why they continue to be depicted, even if maybe they're not quite as important anymore as an active food source. So there's my deep thought. Also, oh yeah, Little Petra. If you go the other side of the entrance, the one side you find Albeda, on the other side we went up, and a couple of the locals there showed me these incredible red dots that were forming serpents almost. And they told me, of course, that there was like even more if you kept going up into this whole area in behind Little Petra. So again, so much to do, so little has been done to date. Okay, so there's Little Petra done. Moving on to episode 6. So this site was amazing. This was like the one where we got the tools in the foreground, which again was a classic clue, like people were here. And then it was so fun to be able to be like, here's the people, where's the art? And then sure enough, we found the art, but way up on top of those boulders with what would have been the shelf there. Somebody asked about the shelf. The piece that had broken off was down below. I kind of briefly showed it in the video. I will find a couple of shots to come in that kind of show you the pulled out wide shot so you can get more of a sense. And I also realized afterwards it was so bright. Well, it's always so bright there, right? I couldn't completely see that you weren't able to totally see the engravings, so I'll cut a couple photos in here as well just to give you a better shot of it. And also just because it's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken of my kids. My kids were out with me that day, and they are hanging out in the shade very smartly, as my Bedouin colleagues were too once it hit the middle of the day. Genevieve was the only crazy lady still running around in the sun. And so it's just such a cool shot of my kids, and so the lovely patient children while mom's busy going nuts over her stone tools and her engravings, right? But no, they're wonderful, and they're incredibly helpful when I'm in the field. At least the older one is. The younger one's good with snacks. Okay, number 7, the G&G cave. Oh, such a great cave. That one makes me really happy. Again, you can only see so much in the video, so I am going to cut in a couple of de-stretch shots to give you a really clear view of those 2 layers of the paintings that I was talking about. And then also I'm going to cut a shot in here for you as well, so you can more clearly see those ibex that were painted and engraved on those 2 panels that were side by side, which again, really weird. You don't normally find 2 different techniques being used to create art side by side when they have the same style like that. So yeah, it's a neat little unusual quirk of a very interesting cave. And again, so much needs to be done there, and I was still finding stuff even at the end of the day. So yeah, we got to go back and do more. But it was nice to be able to do that and then share that with George, since he was the one who found the cave with me the year before. But again, more is needed, but really awesome to be able to show you such a cool example of how much better things are preserved too when there are caves. So hopefully we can find more caves. Number 8. I really wanted to show you, that was such a great site too. Again, in a completely different part of Wadi Rum, like probably 20 kilometers, 30, 50 kilometers away from some of the other stuff. So just these pockets of art everywhere. And this was really what we were doing here, was just doing this big, broad survey just to get a bit of a sense of what was even in the general vicinity of Wadi Rum and Petra, because we're talking about just like this huge expansive desert area in Jordan. And so little has been done. And so this is where it was neat to start, just really starting to try and create a bit of a baseline almost, and then knowing from there how to tweak it out and go back and start doing more surveying, start doing more in-depth work at different sites and taking it from there. I couldn't get a really good shot of all the ibex and all the engravings up on the arch. It was just too high up from my angle, and I was using my iPhone. So I will cut in a better still shot just to give you a better view of it. So there's that. And then, of course, episode 9 is a more recent marking, which was kind of fun too. And so interesting for me as a Paleolithic person who normally, again, is dealing with stuff where nobody's alive, nobody knows what it is. And so amazing to have the insights that you gain from working with the locals, and getting a sense of what more recent marks can mean. And then sometimes too, that can be extrapolated backwards, because my lovely colleague, Ahmed Al-Mosa, who was in that particular episode with me, I mean, his family has been there since time immemorial, right? Like, he literally was born in a black tent out on that landscape, which is so amazing. And it was so cool to get to hang out with him and his family and the sheep and the camels, of course, and just the whole lifestyle. But, you know, having those local colleagues like Ahmed and like Lena and Juma came out and helped me too, who I also worked with back in the day. You know, it was really cool to be working with them there and to be getting all those local insights. But then also, you know, to not just be the archaeologist coming from the outside and then kind of leaving again, but to be starting to work with Ahmed and Lena in particular, to really be thoughtful about how to maybe start putting them in the driver's seat of recording and documenting and preserving all of this cultural heritage. Because the reality is there's not nearly enough of people like me around the world to do this work. And there's so many places like Jordan, like this is one example of so many places in the world that are just waiting to be documented. And so it's really wonderful to be starting to, in a way, almost clarify my vision too, I think, about how can we move forward with like citizen science partners, like how to move forward with local partners, just to really do the best work we can be doing, and making it more like cross-disciplinary and more inclusive, which I think is really important too. So that would be where I would like to leave it. And I will finish up this episode with just a really fun short piece I shot while we were 4x4ing at pretty high speed across Wadi Rum, and just really sharing the sentiment and the joy of what it means to do field work and do survey work, which truly just makes my heart so happy. And it was my absolute pleasure to share it with you today in Cave Art 101 Season 3, the Field Series, in partnership with World of Paleoanthropology. Thank you, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Ma salam. I'm here for Season 3 of Cave Art 101's The Field Series. So I'm here in Jordan, and I wanted to share with you, one of the really fun things for me is I love exploring new places in the world, and so I have to admit that certainly that's part of the appeal, is definitely getting to go hang out in gorgeous, breathtaking, fascinating places, and working with amazing colleagues too. So I thought I would do a brief one here from the car so you can see what it's like to go surveying in Jordan. Oh, hold on, I'll have to bring her around this way. And of course you have to meet Ahmed Al-Mosa, my amazing Bedouin colleague. So Ahmed and I have actually known each other for 19 years, isn't that wild? We first worked together when I was an undergraduate on my very first excavation here in Jordan. And you can see my kids are in the back too. So also part of the fun of surveying. But yeah, I just wanted to show you, like, it's just gorgeous. Like look at this place. Like, it's hard to even get across, I think, on film how incredible it is. And so I just, that's definitely, the discoveries are amazing, but it's the people you work with, it's the experiences you get to have. I mean, I think that's why all of us archaeologists are completely addicted to being in the field, is just for the sheer wonder of it all, right? So, yes. So keep on exploring, keep on adventuring, and got some pretty amazing art coming up to show you guys. So. Okay.
Okay, good. Super. All right.
I should include that at the end.